I discovered my parents standing outside in the cold on the porch of my own house shivering. They looked like beggars. Inside, my wife's family was laughing and drinking wine as if they owned everything. My father's hands were shaking. My mother's lips were blue. They looked at me with shame, not anger, and that hurt more than the cold. In that moment, something inside me broke. It wasn't always like this. When I first married into their family, they smiled and pretended to welcome me. Her parents gave me advice. Her siblings made jokes. Her uncles told me how lucky I was. But beneath all that politeness, there was a hidden disrespect. They saw me as lesser, without wealth, a legacy, or a name worth mentioning. I thought I could win them over with patience, time, and success. And I did succeed. I got promotions, I bought a house, and I created stability. Everything I built was for my wife and the family we were supposed to be. But with every achievement, her family only took more control of my life until the lines were completely blurred. My wife let it happen. Now, years later, my own parents were locked outside, while her family celebrated at my dinner table. The betrayal didn't happen all at once. It came with whispers. My wife said it was easier if her parents handled the finances. Her brother temporarily stored his business inventory in our garage. Her mother made copies of the house keys for emergencies. Each step was small, each request seemed harmless. Until one day my parents knocked and no one answered. They weren't wanted in my house. The locks had been changed. I didn't confront them that night. I didn't yell. I brought my parents inside, fed them, warmed them up, and promised myself I would never let it happen again. But rage without a plan is useless, so I started to plan quietly and with careful thought. Step 1 was to get the documents. The deed to the house was still in my name. The mortgage, too. They thought handling the finances gave them control, but they never checked the signatures that actually mattered. Step 2 was surveillance. If they wanted to act like it was their house, I let them. I installed cameras and recorded every party, every sneer, and every insult. Hours of footage of them, laughing in my living room, mocking my parents and putting me down. Step 3 was timing. They had grown too comfortable, too loud, too entitled, which meant their downfall would be public. The chance came sooner than I expected. My in-laws decided to throw a huge dinner at my house. They invited half the neighborhood and even people from her father's business. They called it a family celebration. I arrived late and unannounced with my parents beside me. The room went silent when we walked in. Her mother tried to sneer, "Oh, we didn't know you would be joining us." I smiled. Of course I am. It's my house after all. Then I opened the briefcase. Inside were copies of the deed, the mortgage, and the bank records, all with my name. I laid them on the table like cards in a game I had already won. Their smiles disappeared. I used the remote for the TV. The video footage started to play. It showed them laughing, mocking my parents, and bragging about running the show. Their words filled the room. Every neighbor, every guest heard it. Her father's face turned red, and he started to stutter. You can't do this." I stopped him. "Actually, I can," and I did. The eviction notices had already been filed. Their access to the accounts was cut. The keys they copied were useless. I had allowed them to dig their own graves, and then I removed the ground from beneath them. One by one, the guests started to leave. No one wanted to be tied to the public collapse they had just witnessed. By the end of the night, the dining room was empty. Plates were half-eaten, and glasses were half full. My in-laws sat in silence, their arrogant empire crumbling in front of them. The end of their reign wasn't loud. It was the silence, the sound of their control disappearing, the way their faces sank when they realized they had nothing. I took my parents' hands and led them to the table. For the first time in 16 years, they sat at the head where they belonged. I raised my glass. You celebrated while my parents froze outside. Tonight you learn what it feels like to be left in the cold. I didn't wait for a response. I walked out with my parents and left them, sitting in the ruins of the life they thought they owned. Do I regret it? No. They destroyed themselves long before I got involved. All I did was shine a light on their actions. Now when I sit at my table with my parents beside me, I feel no anger, just peace. Because I learned something that night. Betrayal doesn't always yell. Sometimes it locks the door quietly and leaves you outside. And revenge is opening the door only to show them it's no longer theirs.